in. This is awesome. Hey, everybody. This is Tim Miner with Charlotte is Creative. I am so excited to see, so many amazing faces, people I know. I'm so glad to see you on the call. Dave, hey, man. Long time no see. Hannah. Guys, we are just going to wait a few minutes for folks to join up. And then this is going to be a pretty lively hour. And judging already by the people that have kind of gotten on this call, I know we got the serious people, the people with ideas and lots of questions. And so we've got the right crew assembled today to help answer your questions and make sure that you put together a pretty amazing proposal for Charlotte Shout. So we're going to give it about another 60 seconds, and then we're going to get going. I will say for anyone that's listening, we got a lot of people on the call that are part of the organization team. We can answer your questions. You can ask them. You can put them in the chat. Please let this be a lively chat. I know throughout, as we can and we'll put links to resources in the chat feature. And we'll be looking, if you're looking at having a trouble merging into traffic to ask your question, either use the raise your hand feature or put your question directly in the chat and we will get to it in order. So about 30 seconds and we're going to hit the road. But while we're waiting, everybody do a hand gesture. Remember, sure, we're going to keep this clean, but that indicates the kind of day that you're having. So is it a raise the roof kind of day? Is it a, like Arsenio Hall kind of day? Is it, like mezza? How are you guys feeling today? I know Bullfin's, he's got the head back and forth. What do you guys? Oh, Hannah doesn't exactly know how the day is going, but hopefully this call will lift her spirits. She's getting there. All right. Well, I'm gonna go. Oh, and Sydney's already using the emoticons. Beautiful. See, she's a graphic person. She's gonna use that as she can. All right. Well, we have 60 minutes together, and I want to use them as effectively as we can. My name is Tim Miner. I am one of the co-founders of Charlotte is Creative. Really excited to be on the Charlotte Shout team with the incredible team from Charlotte Center City Partners and from Blumenthal Performing Arts. And on the call today, we have lots of representatives from Robert Crumbine, Tom Gabbard, Christine Lockett, Logan's on the call from the CCCP. We've got Bree Stallings, who, by the way, if you have not yet congratulated her on her new position at the Blumenthal, we need to go ahead and give her some flowers right now because, Tom, you are known for making good decisions. My friend, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that you have made one hell of a good decision in bringing Bree onto the team. All right. The people that I already see on this call are doers. You guys are the people that are making amazing, beautiful things happen across Charlotte. You are the folks that we have gotten to know at Charlotte is Creative, the people, the champions, who over the years have kept the creative pilot lights on and now are starting creative fires and inspiring and motivating and enabling younger or newer creatives in the market. And that's what Charlotte Shout is all about. You guys spend 365 days of the year expressing yourself, sharing your opinions, sharing your perspectives, championing arts, and lifting this city up with your talents and your passions. But we're all doing that in lots of places all over the Queen City. The beautiful thing about Charlotte Shout is it is highly concentrated. It is going to be 17 amazing, powerful, jam-packed days of lifting up and celebrating the power and the acumen of the creative community in Charlotte. The artists, creators, makers, thinkers, designers, cultural leaders. Oftentimes people who maybe don't get the credit they deserve but are doing the work. We are here to celebrate this city, lift this city, and after the last year that we've had, Charlotte needs what Charlotte Shout represents. And the beautiful thing, and I can say from having not been on the team that kicked off this one, but have been brought on, what I love is that Robert, Tom, and their entire teams have devoted so much of Charlotte Shout this year to local creatives, to showing what is capable within our own city limits. But those are the limits I think we should stop with. The beautiful thing is that you have an opportunity with Shout to think in a limitless capacity, to think about presenting to Charlotte and being part of Charlotte Shout with something new, with presenting a new idea or a new perspective or a new installation or performance that has never been seen before. We want to show everyone and invite every corner of Charlotte to come and see that our creative community has no limits, that we have just begun to tap our potential. Okay, I don't need to preach to the choir anymore. You guys know how strong the creative community is. But what you have in Charlotte Shout is an opportunity through Made in CLT to present an idea that runs the gamut from a light and projection idea to something that's immersive, that invites those who are going to come to Charlotte Shout in to actually be surrounded by your creativity, your vision. We want this to assault all the senses, your sight, your hearing, your taste, your smell, so that people have no doubt how magical the creative culture in our city is. Through the Of Earth and Sky opportunity, poets have a chance to do workshops and work together this month and next month to submit ideas. And if those ideas are selected, they will be turned into interactive, visual, large-scale art projects during Shout. What an amazing opportunity that is. There's opportunities if you have an existing event or an existing idea to apply it and say, we can either pay for this full out to be part of Shout, or we need partial payment, or we need you to fund it all. But this is an existing structure and organization and event that we want to put into Shout. So it runs the gamut. I think what the team wants, and what I hope you'll ask questions about today, is what makes a good proposal? How do you best convey what's in here to the team so that they understand what you want to create during Shout? And there's one more idea I know that we've got to get to. Tom, I know you want to talk about Gaia, and this is a relatively new development within Shout. Not a lot of people know about it, but it's another thing that you can do to participate and collaborate with. So Tom, I'll let you talk a little bit about what Gaia is all about. You unfortunately are on mute.
Okay, good. I needed somebody. Okay, good. So Gaia is a project that will be one of our anchor projects that we hope will stimulate a lot of interaction with it. So this is a giant inflatable Earth. It's been created using NASA images. We'll be putting it in Founders Hall. But the purpose of this exhibit is it really wonderfully reminds us of the beauty and the fragility of our planet. This is new to the US, coming from the UK, and we're creating space that is programmable space. So it's space where if you want to do a concert, if you want to have a yoga class, or something that will be enhanced by having access to this giant, it's huge version of the Earth, we encourage that. And I think sustainability and the fragility of our planet is very much on people's minds. So it's an example of what we're trying to do in Shout is to create some anchor projects that then other elements tie into thematically, so that there's an interconnectedness for all these things. But again, watch for it. We'll be announcing it hopefully Earth Day, and it's a spectacular tribute to the beauty of our planet.
Thanks,
Tom. Tim.
My pleasure. That's exciting. So I think you guys get this sense that there are some real guardrails and some plans for Shout, but then the X factor is you and the ideas that you bring to the table and propose. So just to go over the timeline really quickly, because I know people may have to drop out, the critical date is May the 15th. So applications are open for all these ideas. I'm sure you already know that. So, but the applications must be in by 5 p.m. on May 15th. In the interim, we will have one of these workshops every week. And I know, and as I said, Of Earth and Sky is already going. I will drop the full timeline of workshops into the chat. All of them are themed. So this one is about arts. The next one is going to be about music. After that, it's ideas and culinary, and then we go back to art and music. I'm sure as they go along, you can join more than one. You can ask specific questions as you hone your idea. Now, from this point forward, actually, sorry, there's one more thing. We need you, in addition to your idea, share this. The Blumenthal and Center City partners are vehement about the fact that we need your help in getting creatives across the city to know that they are welcome and that we hungrily want them to apply and share their ideas. So if you know of creatives who aren't on this call that you haven't heard them talk about, share what we put on social media, invite them to the next meetings, send them the link to the application. We want this to go to in all corners, and especially to creatives who have not participated in things like this before. Because not only can Shout benefit from it, but the process of putting them through applying is going to help them now and in the future. All right, with that said, this is a very loose format. I will open it up to questions, and then the team will answer them as needed.
To answer Crystal's question, I'm glad that Tom just dropped that in there, and you can see images of how big and massive this Earth is. But yes, we'll be utilizing that space as an activation point for certain projects that speak to environmentalism and thoughts about the Earth and the smallness of humanity, which are the things that this work provokes. But so if you have something specific to the idea, pitch it to there and include that you would like it paired with Gaia. And if not, like Tim said earlier, we are open for ideas on other things.
Well, not having a question being asked in the chat yet, I think I'll throw this out to Bree, Tom, Christine, and Robert, which is what are we looking for in a great presentation? I know it's something that's going to involve a lot of people. It's highly accessible. We want ideas that are sustainable. So when you come up with your plan, we're trying to make this as sustainable and green and friendly as we can, but also that whatever you build is durable, because these are outside events. And so we want them. So the first question that's come through, we can get into the other aspects in a moment, but it's how many applications will be rewarded with funds?
I'll dive in on that one. That's at this very moment, I'm not going to tell you a finite number, because we are working very hard on building our budget and building our sponsorship pool. But I would say in both cases where we're looking at the $15,000 or the $10,000 ones, you know, we're gonna fund enough of them. I mean, 10 to so of the 15s and probably another 10 in the immersive art. It's a range. Okay, I'm not gonna, don't hold us to an exact number at this moment, but we'll know a little bit better as we get closer towards the May 15th deadline.
Another question that we have, Robert, is are we limited to just one application? So it's, in this case, it sounds like Elizabeth has an idea that she would do on her own, or another would be a collab with someone else.
Okay, that's Tim, not me, right? Him. Okay, we're all seeing that. Okay, good. I just want to make sure I'm not on drugs. Okay, it's okay, Tim. You're fine. You just frozen. Like you were drinking a little bit too much. So here's what I said.
Let me try this. It looks like internet fun. Yeah, it's me, not you.
Okay. Well, I'll take it on the.
So
on this.
I'm not multitasking. I'm just turning off my calendar.
All right, I'm going to try to answer this. As I said this last week, we are open to more than one application. However, you all know this thinking. If you start branching off with 3-4 different ideas, then there's going to be some question mark, I think, on our side as to whether or not you've really invested into the project. So I think my suggestion, and I'll let Bree talk about this as an artist, but I think my suggestion would be, let's bring the really great one that you have, and let's really look at how that could be a great part of Charlotte Chow. Bree?
Yeah. Tim, can you mute yourself if I can hear us echo through your, cool. Maybe that'll solve it. I agree with Robert, and I think the distinction would be that if the proposals live in two completely different buckets, then that's fine. As a multidisciplinary artist, I understand that one can have one vision and one can have another. And that, I think that that's more than okay if it satisfies different needs, if it interacts with the public in a different way. And the one word that I'm coming up with when we're talking about this process is the emotive quality of your work. So when you think about your work, what is the emotive quality that you hope that people interact with and experience with the work? Is it joy? Is it awe? Is it community? Is it, like with the Gaia project, for me, it's like expansiveness and like smallness at the same time. If you have two proposals that have two different emotive qualities, sure, of course, present them and like, let's just see. That's what we're interested in seeing. But if, like Robert said, if you're confused about maybe which idea is better within kind of a subset of ideas, focus on one. And a good piece of advice that I always get and give to other artists is the more specific, the more universal. So the more specific you get with your idea, the better it will come across, and the more specific that you have in ways that people will connect with you and your story and your experience, then people will have the same thing to connect on. So I would say anchor to one unless you have two really different ones.
Tim, can I take two questions that I see here in chat? So first one has to do with outdoor spaces. There will be some things that are indoors, but we really are trying to emphasize outdoors because of COVID. Honestly, we want people to feel safe coming to this. So the more we can do outdoors, the better. But if you have an idea that's indoors, don't hesitate to suggest that. But again, we are really trying to do as much outdoors as we can. And to the question of what is an anchor project, that's a term I came up with, but let me explain what I intended with that. It's something like Gaia. We've talked about that the bunnies are coming back. We're going to do them in a much bigger way at Romero Bearden Park. Of Earth and Sky is one of those where it will be, something that we are really confident are going to draw big crowds, and we can use that to drive business to everybody. And I think the opportunity, when it makes sense to build off of that, like Gaia, if you have a program that focuses on the planet, sustainability, our stewardship of the planet, we encourage you to try to build off of that, because we are going to, try to leverage some of these to just really make this a regional event that attracts big crowds to come out and spend a whole day walking the city and participating in all of these things together.
Thanks, Tom. I've turned off my camera, so that hopefully should kill the lag. And I like you guys. Branding is important. You can look at my logo instead. To one of the questions that I saw before I had to leave and come back was, it's probably more directed to Robert, and it was what kind of fees should an artist who wants to is applying to play one of the smaller stages or one of the installations, what kind of budget should they expect?
Talking specifically, I think I saw that too. What are the stipends that we're going to do for musicians? Is that the question?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. We're also working on that a little bit, but I think we're looking at, we want to be fair to everybody. We can't pay rack rates for every musician if we're going to do showcase stages. Plus, we're providing so much, and we'll get into that a little deeper when we do the music workshop, I believe next week. But we will be providing a lot of production and backline and all the materials that you need. It's all about, it really is on that side. And I wasn't thinking so much because I was really focused on art today.
Right.
But just to give you a short thing, we're probably looking in that 150, 200 per person kind of scenario. It'll really depend. I mean, if you come into us with the Charlotte Community Band and you've got 80 members, I'm sure we'll have to negotiate a rate that makes sense. But if we're talking singles, duos, bands, that kind of thing, it'll be a fair price.
Robert, you bring up a good point too. And this is not to frustrate musicians or folks that are, thought leaders or culinary creatives. Today's meeting really is specifically about visual artists, writers, and poets who are going to be as part of the Maiden CLT and the of Earth and Sky presentations. And there will be the next session, which is April 22nd at 10 a.m. That is specifically about music. And there will be another one that's about music on May the 13th. All right, so this is a question I think that has bearing on all manner of projects, which is, we're still trying to figure out what COVID restrictions are going to look like in the fall. As folks are thinking through their idea, how should they factor in touching objects? Should it be that we want distance on an immersive project, or is it okay to plan an idea where folks touch things?
I personally, and this applies to how we operate our venues. I will tell you that surfaces are becoming not the issue that they once were. In fact, the CDC has actually issued guidance about that. So I think there still is a consumer wariness about that. But in terms of the science, my friend Joe Allen at Harvard, who's one of the top experts in all of this, he's told me several times there is not one single case of COVID that's been traced to surfaces. So the science, leads us to not be worried about it. The public is not quite there, hopefully by September. So I think, it's more a question of how do we make the public feel safe? But in terms of at least my concern about, we can't have people touch things, especially by September, I'm not so worried about that.
Yeah, and we're going to bring Impulse back, which are the seesaws. I mean, obviously that's a highly interactive and touchable type of installation. So just to speak about our protocols, we're going to bring the protocols. We'll have the hand sanitizer stations. We'll have the things that people will feel safer having that around. It adds a whole new wrinkle to our life as event planners and producers. But if that's what it's going to take, we're going to make sure people are safe and happy and enjoying it. So I wouldn't run away from something that is that involves touch.
All right, awesome. Thanks, guys. The next question is about siting things. So if you have an idea that is more specific to one location or another, what if you have other people vying for that space? I imagine what you're going to say is put the idea down, and if there's more than one idea that would occupy the same space, you guys will figure it out, because good ideas are good ideas.
Bingo.
All right, so sorry, Robert.
Just to remind everybody, the footprint right now that we're talking about is Uptown Charlotte with a focus on Tryon Street between, just call it Tryon Street, basically Stonewall all the way to 11th Street. Now, we're not going to close everything. We are going to close between MLK and 8th Street, leaving cross streets open. So we'll have each block could be considered its own thematic plaza, or however you would suggest. Typical block uptown is 350 feet long, linear feet, 45 feet wide. Give you some numbers to think about. There are lots of other areas that we're going to connect from Romere Bearden up 3rd Street. We're going to connect over on 7th Street to First Ward Park. We've got 4th Ward Park potentially in the mix. There's parking lots and other places. There's plazas that are corporate plazas. So Wells Fargo, Bank of America. When you see these places, don't be afraid to throw out ideas. Okay. If you think something would work really well at one place versus another, That's what we want to see, and we'll figure out it. We don't have all these things locked in and loaded yet. We're working on pulling all that together. We will deal with the property managers and the city and so on to get the permissions. And I'll tell you from the Stonewall side, and we just locked down all of the stuff in that new area, that Legacy Union, the new Bank of America tower down there, that lawn area, all of that. That's open for grabs. So we've got some cool spaces, big spaces to work with.
Robert, I would imagine you say just for overall is that, you know, we're not only in early stage, but there's a lot of time between now and September. So, you know, things will be added, changed, morphed ideas that were going to happen anyway will probably be, you know, incorporated and enhanced somehow by Shout. I would imagine you guys would say, with, you know, look at you know, when you're looking for guardrails or you're looking for things to constrain you, you've outlined those in the call for proposals. That there are budgets in there. There's the notes about sustainability, durability, accessibility. But outside of that, you want people feeling free to come up with really amazing ideas that then that they call you to workshop them with them. If they're a good idea, you'll figure out a way to make it work. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
And Tim, let me add, as a part of this, you know, encouraging people to look at unexpected places to find these things. Let's not limit ourselves, you know, to places that are tried and true, because I think, you know, we want a sense of discovery. We're citing this all in Uptown in a small zone because we want this to be a pedestrian experience. We want people to get out of their cars, spend the day roaming around, finding these things and discovering these things as well. So you can help us unlock some of the, you know, the nooks and crannies and things that have opportunity and power, and help create that sense of discovery by creating, you know, opportunities that people have not experienced before.
Well, and with you know, with the bunnies, you know, that's also, I think inviting people to experience an area of Charlotte they may know in a different way. So it's also, you know, it's discovering new places, but rediscovering or looking at a place you thought you knew Uptown with different eyes, I would imagine. Next question I see is, if I'm not proposing an anchor project, what's a good example of a smaller art exhibit? You know, be it mural, which they're thinking, is it mural, interactive art? I know the immediate answer is going to be think big and think differently, but do you guys have any advice for somebody who's doing something that's on the smaller side?
To clarify the terminology that we used earlier, when we're talking about the anchor projects, we're talking about projects that we have already, you know, contracted to come in here, like working with Luke Jerem on Of Earth and Sky and of Gaia and the bunnies. So these anchor projects are happening on our end. You can propose something in response to an anchor project, but you wouldn't propose an anchor project. Whatever you propose will either be in response maybe to something that will already be activated in that space, or something that you find your own space, like Tom suggested, and is specific to that space. So just to be clear on that. And then yes, the importance is on that it would be interactive in some way, that it would be communal. We're having this big celebratory parade and festival. It's really exciting. It's, you know, that kind of vibe, that it would be something that people can interact with, that's not just, you know, one-dimensional in terms of how it's built or how it's engaged with. So be thinking about that. Think how long will somebody interact with this, and what would the conversation be like with the people that they're there with? You know, can the conversation be a medium as part of your exhibit or whatever that you propose? So I don't know if there's a preference yet, because we haven't seen any ideas, and we don't have examples really of projects either. I mean, you can look and see what was presented in 2019, but you know, you don't have to use it as a marker against your idea. We're looking for new ideas.
Yeah, I know that's one of the dangers, is there's not necessarily a template, you know, other than it's not that we don't want to paint a picture of what it looks like. We want to give we want to give words that inspire, like interactive, accessible, surprising, exciting, exploration. This is a logistical question, and I have a feeling that, Robert, your answer is going to be, we'll figure it out, but it's just about, if I need electricity and I don't know how I'm going to get the electricity, and I can't, it's hard for me to quantify that in the proposal. Would it be safe to say you're going to say, give us the great idea and we'll figure out how to get you electricity?
Yeah. So, in the proposal, in the invitation where we discuss those two specific areas, we will provide power. Okay. So electrical will come from us. And if we accept your idea, we love what you're going to do. And, you're going to need 480 volts and all kind. We'll figure out what we need to do to make that happen, whether that's generators or shore power or whatever it might be. So I just don't even put that in there. If you're in another world here and you're going with a third party, big giant, look, we're going to project on the side of this building and it's going to dance and do all kinds of stuff. And there's people falling down and swimming around and we already know. We got it. We got this figured out. Put that in your proposal then. Put it all together so we have a pretty good sense of what that big idea is going to cost. And that'll help us. But specifically, when you say electricity, I go, don't worry about the electricity. We'll deal with that. Just make sure you know what you're talking about.
So it strikes me I should be saying who's asking these questions. This next question comes from Mark Pendergrass, and it's about, will there be a capacity or capability to combine a documentary, an art display, and a discussion conversation with the artist and participants? That kind of seems to bridge the gap between art and ideas, but I imagine that's right on par because that allows people to engage on a number of levels with the work.
Yeah, and it fits in the immersive art call, a hybrid of multiple tiers. But it could also just live in the ideas section all by itself. I think it would have a good place there as well. So
it does raise this question though, because we've been going through this the first time, that these 4 programmatic pillars, don't be intimidated by wondering which do I fit in. It's really more when we get to marketing this and creating a website and all that, it creates a way for us to organize those things and also to communicate to the public. Hopefully a lot of these ideas cross into multiple categories. That would even be better, they cross into multiple categories. So don't worry about, well, which niche do I fit in? Just give us the idea, and if it crosses multiple, even better.
So Denzel asked the question, where can I find, I'm going to paraphrase, where can I find, previous ideas that have been done during Shout? Kimberly shared a link to some pictures from 2019, which was the last time Shout happened. I'd also kind of direct you to the social media account. So if you go to the CLT Shout account on either Facebook or on Instagram, there are lots and lots of pictures and videos of what was done. And if you didn't experience it in 2019, it really ran the gamut. I mean, it was acrobatics, music, it ran from people performing on every corner to art you could crawl inside of to McFly Fresh screen printing right on the trade square of Tryon Street underneath a giant art display that, in the middle of Trade and Tryon Street, there were places for people to lay down, lay on their back, lay in a chair and look up at this interactive light display. So really you're going to find great examples there, but let your imagination be your guide. It almost might be good to walk Tryon Street and just reimagine it through your eyes on how you can take a space and enliven it, or to, as Tom said, make it someplace new. Got another question we've got a question from Pam, which is, will there be help provided for bigger installations? It's a logistic question of it. Is there going to be help for me to get my installation in? Absolutely. Robert and Bree are enthusiastically nodding yes.
Absolutely.
Elizabeth asks, should the proposal include estimated costs for the fabrication or components of an installation? Robert, that's a question that has come up quite a bit offline. And Tom, is, which comes first in the chicken and the egg? You're looking more for the idea or the proposal that is extremely precise? Which is it?
We look, I'll say it a different way. This is an open sourced event and festival, and we're creating something special with all of you. Made in Charlotte, think of it as a giant, we have just created a giant committee of incredible minds to come together, and a number of you are going to get selected to really make it happen, and then the rest will support it and come back next year and the following year, and we'll just keep on building on it. So my point to that is, let's bring out some really amazing, big, hairy ideas that we all want to see happening in Charlotte. That's going to just be transformative and exciting. And then, you know, yes, there's some budgetary constraints and certain things that we've put out here. And then you've got that whole other area that third party concept was open to be, we're open. We want to hear, right? It doesn't fall. You don't fit in one of those two. Give us something. The reason we asked for you to lay out your materials, installation, and all of that in your budget is really a little bit about wanting to see that you know what you're talking about with your idea. I mean, we would hate to see you have some really ginormous idea that you think fits in a $15,000 budget. You put it all on paper, and then we come back and kind of look at it and say, that's impossible to do for that kind of money. How can we work with you to make it happen? Does that make sense? I mean, I think that's one way. Bree, maybe you could help me there.
You know, as an artist who, and this is how I can speak as an artist who's applied to so many grants and won some of them, like that there's finite time that we'll be able to spend on these proposals. And so I would say, get really interested in the idea, get really specific on that, think about how people are going to interact. And like Robert said, it's the budget piece is to help us understand that you know how to pay yourself, how much things cost, what the realistic expectation of that is. Anybody who's ever sat on a grant panel might see that sometimes budgets that are way too low or way too high are red flags, and that it just helps to book in some ideas. And then to kind of piggyback on that, Michaela's question of, are we allowed to submit visuals and inspiration along with the proposal to help with visualizing the idea? Robert, are you in camp? Yes, I am. I love that idea. I submitted a proposal earlier to our team for the Van Gogh thing because I realized that even though I had been talking about this idea for a month, nobody knew what I meant because they're not artists that think like that. And then I was like, well, here's what I mean. And so just mocking it up on Photoshop, everybody was like, oh, cool, great, I get it. Check. And so that helps so much to kind of understand the concept, especially when we start talking about these really big, vague words like community and joy. It's like, that means something different to me than it means to Tom, than it means to Elizabeth. Like, and so when you provide those visuals and those specifics, then we can all buy into it a lot easier.
Just to share with the group, I mean, Bree and I had a conversation about this earlier today, and here's a perspective I'd like to share, which is, it's easy to focus, and you should, on the 17 days of Shout, but this is really meant to magnify and help and bridge 2021 to 2022 as we build Charlotte Shout into an annual event that people look forward to. It behooves all of us to help you not only be the incredible creatives you are, but help you with the mechanics of it and the business end of it. So at the very least, think of this as an opportunity to learn from some of the most intelligent, best experienced creatives in Charlotte at being sustainable, at putting together ideas and knowing how you can execute them confidently and intelligently, so that even if you present an idea that doesn't get selected this year, you have worked with Bree or Tom or the team over at Center City Partners, so that not only are you better at putting your proposal together for 2022 Shout, but that moving forward into 2021, you've got experience and knowledge that you've gained from this to make your personal proposals for smaller projects or for-profit projects that you do across Charlotte better. So this is not only a chance for us to show the rest of Charlotte how amazing and creative you are, but this is a chance for you to learn from the best in the business in Charlotte. And that's a really amazing thing. And as we ask you to go out and find those creatives that may be saying, and you know who they are, I don't know, I'm intimidated by this process. I've never put in a proposal like this before. I don't know if I'm for Shout. Encourage them, because they get a chance to share an idea and run it past just an incredible team, and a team that's there to empower them and support great ideas and show them how they're possible. So I'll get off my soapbox now, but I would invite us to think of this as a larger experience than just that. I'm going to answer the question about, will there be food trucks during the 17 days? Yes, that's a whole nother thing where people can go to vendors at charlotteshout.com, but there will be food trucks. I don't know at this point, Robert and crew, that we know exactly where they'll be, but they will be up and down Tryon Street and across the area.
Lots of food.
As Michaela's asking for a friend.
I think that would do something in response to some of those areas, and just know that in addition to food trucks and vendors, there will be a food component that we might be able to partner up an art or an idea with, that could be a little bit more specific to the community than a food truck, if that's where you're hinting. And then to piggyback off of what Tim was saying, part of my passion and one of my self-appointed roles that I gave myself here at Blumenthal is to help lead artists through these processes, so that way we have a community of people who feel like they are able to follow through on one of these applications and feel supported through the process. So that way, year after year, people will be encouraged to apply again and to engage more deeply. I'm going to set an energetic boundary that I want you to apply. So get to the finish line of applying, and then we can help workshop your ideas some more. So get there, because I don't want to spend a lot of time with people who maybe are or not going to apply. That's kind of the theme of the day, is hit the apply button and run with it, and we'll figure things out after that, once we have a little bit more time before Shout.
Thanks, Bree. The next question is about whether you need to, the expectation is that artists and creatives will sit with the exhibitions during the duration. Are they meant to babysit it? And Bree is saying no. I think that also depends on what you present, correct? I mean, there may be, if you're having an ongoing discussion, you're going to need to be there as with the event. But if not, I don't think that's a necessity. Oh, I'm sorry. Apparently, Dave asked a question and we didn't address it. This is Dave Bulfin, which is, has the jury been named for the proposal process? Do we know who is going to be evaluating the applications?
We have not finalized that, but it will be members of these organizations, obviously Blumenthal and Center City Partners, and we will be bringing in, as well as Tim and Matt will be part of that crew. But we'll put together a pretty significant jury of folks from diverse backgrounds and make sure that we're getting good eyes on everything.
Awesome. One. This is not in the chat, but again, I know it's a question that's been asked, and it's kind of about the nature of what we want from Shout. And I know that some of the buzzwords would be that this is meant to be a celebration and really lean into joy. Not that there aren't serious issues that could be explored through art, but would we not say that kind of the through line needs to be exploration, joy, fun, interaction, celebration,
inspiration. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Tim. And like you said, we talked about this earlier, and it's interesting, is an artist who makes very heavy work. It's like an interesting thing too, because I'm always like, let's talk about race and class, and I don't know. Those are all great ideas. I don't know if it's the best fit for this. And if you do want to, reflect upon this really intense year that we've all had and that we've all witnessed, do it through a lens of resilience and overcoming and that, rather than just the overwhelming grief, just because that's the vibe of this festival. That's the only reason.
Thanks, Bree. I think that's really important. That's great perspective. Michaela asked another really interesting question, because obviously we're saying that collaboration is a big theme, and we love that. But it's after the jury or after the group goes through looking at proposals would we match make? Would we actually suggest a pairing based on the ideas that are proposed? And Crumbine is nodding yes.
I think that's strongly possible. Yes, I do not see us putting that off the table.
Okay. We are drawing near the end, but we still have plenty of time. Does anybody else have questions?
So you can just email me, and then we can talk about that, because I am working on something food stuff. But yes, we can pair some ideas and talk about that. And one other thing that I wanted to mention while it was on my mind is that we can take proposals for things that have maybe been seen before. And so when I talked to Robert about this yesterday, if if this was maybe from a proposal from a McCall artist in residence that happened 2 years ago, I mean, you have to think about the audience, right? Like, how many people saw that versus just the thousands of people that are going to come. And so maybe you had this idea and it's been seen by a limited group before. You can repropose that, understanding that just the amount of time and people is going to be different, and that you will get to keep your work when it's done too. So maybe it'll float along. That was just a thought, but I did see Sydney unmute herself before I started talking.
Hello. Thank you guys for putting these sessions together. They're really helpful. I really appreciate it. And I loved Shout in 2019, and I'm so excited for this year. And when starting to fill out the application, I saw that you guys it mentioned renderings of the piece that, or the installation that would be done. Do you need it to be like fully detailed, or can it just be like I have samples of what I've done and who I'm partnering with. It'll be a fully where you enter into, but still have a free flow of air for everybody to keep a safe distance, and we'll cover all senses except for taste. And maybe I find a food person to pair with by then. But do you need, as far as the renderings go, is that something that comes in the proposal now, or we'll walk through that once the next stage goes through with the applications?
I think it would be unrealistic to expect an artist to have a fully formulated plan and completely rendered out idea by May 15th for something in September. That's not how any of us work, right? That spark of creativity is going to give us an idea. You're going to come back and give us some sort of something that the jury can look at and say, okay, I get it. And if we don't get it, but we still kind of dig what's going on, it's going to be, hey, Sydney, help us understand a little bit more about what this is. But no, I don't think we're expecting, a beautiful picture that says, here it is, finished. This isn't like building a building that we all know that's what the building's supposed to look like when it's all done.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Robert, on the flip side, I saw Bree take stuff off mute. I'll wait. Go ahead, Bree.
I agree with all of that, but I am always of the camp that if you want to make a nice proposal, it's okay to like put yourself in the definite yes mountain and let us source through the rest. So that's fine. And I do realize that that's not a skill that everyone has. So I am happy to help teach someone how to do that and walk you through that, because someone taught me. But I wanted to ask Michaela, because I'm not sure I understand what your second question is in this second paragraph. I don't know if she wants to unmute herself or not.
Yeah.
I can answer that one. I'm sorry. I just read it, Michaela. Okay. You're talking about the work that we did with Scott at the library.
I assume so. I don't know. It's the black and white photos that are on that wall, like the whole wall. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did all of that. So he came to us with the idea. I mean, this is a good example. So Scott was at the McCall Center. He had this big idea. He brought that to us. He wanted a space. We sourced the space that made the most sense. He gave us a sense of what he wanted. He kind of did pick close by to the library. It just worked out perfectly because we had that alley and all of that wall space, and we made it happen with the library. So that's a very good example of you're traveling up and down Tryon Street or in an alleyway somewhere off of Tryon, or maybe, let's think a little bit towards College and Church. I don't want to get us too broad, because quite frankly, if you start spreading it all over uptown, we may run into some problems. But the rail trail is certainly up for grabs, right, all along and I'm not talking South End, but you can consider some of South End, but primarily uptown. That rail trail runs from Stonewall all the way up. So there's certainly some interesting spaces there. If you see something and you think that's the best place for it, then consider that and let us consider it, because we can work with the business owners to get that done.
Just to reiterate, one thing I've heard today is that when it comes to, it's just like we were talking about with the budget. Some of the more specific questions are more a gauge of, do you have a working knowledge of what it's going to take to execute this idea? But outside of that, come with a big idea, and you guys will work with them as a team to take good ideas and make them feasible, possible, and real.
Yeah. Again, with that, Scott,
I may be lagging again. Nod your head if I'm lagging.
You are lagging. I'll just going to add to Scott's installation from last year, the faces, the kids. So there were a lot of recordings of the children speaking prior to and getting their thoughts about Charlotte and why it was important to them. And the lighting of it and all of those components, the production aspects of it, the live production aspect, we brought all that to the table to help enhance his work. So, that's exactly what Tim's saying is dead on right. Again, you're part of this big committee of artists and creatives. Let's create some amazing stuff that we're so proud of, and that people look to Charlotte and say, holy cow, what's in the water down there, right? That's what we want.
To answer Journey's question, I want to clarify, because Tom had to jump off, that I want to make sure that I'm answering both things and that we're speaking to both things. So first, if you're referring to the Of Earth and Sky poetry events, we will be bringing in the same artist that's doing the Earth Gaia's, and he does this project of Earth and Sky, which you can Google, or somebody maybe will drop it in the chat if they're nice to me. And we will be hosting workshops. And Tim, can you mute yourself, my friend? Thanks. We'll be hosting workshops, and I'm going to ask Stephanie, can you drop the workshop dates into the chat too? The first one was Saturday. We have some more starting this Saturday, 12 to 2 every week, open to anyone and everyone. And you will be working with a world-class team of poets, Jay Ward, Jordan Bailey, and Blues. I mean, I can't think of a more trophied up group of people to represent Charlotte. So you would come and bring your poetry, and then workshop it together with that group, and then we will choose as a team different poem fragments that will be installed around uptown. So that will be one of the anchor projects that we were talking about earlier. We'll be handling kind of all of the Earth and Sky, and the only community component is the actual poem itself that will be used to make uptown a walking mobile poem. If you're talking about a spoken word portion that maybe could exist in art or music or ideas, then propose that. And like we said to the other ideas, the sky's the limit on that and how it could be interactive. So I just wanted to clarify the two opportunities.
All right, well, hopefully I've got this back a bit. Does anybody have a last minute question? We've got about 5 minutes to go. I would say one more thing. I'm going to be working on the Bree's smiling. Does that mean you can't hear me well?
lost, but that's okay.
We need to get Tim a Wi-Fi set up.
Yeah.
Anybody have a creative idea?
Unfortunately, I'm not working for my right now.
It's okay.
It's all good.
All right, what I was going to say, thank you for putting the other dates in there, is when you look at accessibility too, we are really trying to make sure that so many people from all over Charlotte, we have 17 days to get them into Shout. We want them all to know that they are invited and welcome. So I'm working on the content team. I would say to everybody that's selected, we are going to be leaning on you not only to enhance what happens at Shout, but to spread the word of Shout and make sure that everyone across every corner of Charlotte knows this is for them. They are welcome. They should come. And that's going to take, we have months to build up anticipation. And we want everyone to know exactly what is going on September 17th through October the 3rd. And that extends to, Tom said this on the very first meeting, and Crystal, I see your question, so I'll ask it in a second. The great aim Shout is that we know some people will be left out, and we'll find out about the application process after May 15th, but please share this. We are working hard to make sure that creatives that don't normally feel engaged or welcome or in the know about opportunities, that they know and present their ideas. Shout will be amazing if we engage in a highly diverse group of creatives to come together, not only how they think, their perspective, but their art form, medium, and vantage point, and the audiences that they bring with them. So please, between now and May 15th, share this invitation as widely as you can. Help us there. And now, last question. Crystal says, I have a big idea, but need resources to make it happen electronically. Is that something y'all could help with? Or should I find someone I can partner with? I would imagine you'd say, if you could find a partner who would be a good collaborator, do it. But again, bring the idea. So if you don't have the technical know-how necessarily or the partner, bring it forward anyway. Is that correct, Robert? You've got the head tilt, so I'm not exactly sure what you're thinking.
I wasn't really clear. So are we talking about making it actually make the installation happen because of the electronic part of it? Then yeah, if you can find somebody that can help you with it. And if not, reach out to us even now. I mean, we're happy to help you workshop that a little bit. If you have some questions about what you're thinking, but you need a little bit of help on the electricity, suggestions, I'm happy to help you with that right anytime.
All right.
You prefer to do it on your own.
Well, we're at the end of the hour. This is by no means the last chance that you're going to have to ask questions. I think all of us that have been pretty open. Bree, I know, wants to hear from artists who have ideas and questions. If you want to know about the schedule, I'm posting links on Facebook tonight to all the remaining workshops. Share that with people. Go ahead and register and sign up now. Share this widely and dream boldly.
Thank you, Tim. And to clarify,
Any closing remarks?
Yes.
Robert?
If you scroll up a little bit, or maybe someone can drop it again. Sorry. Thank you for everybody who's doing the hard work on the chat. For the date for the second art workshop, that'll be more of a workshop. So if you have an idea, and I'm biased because I already know Crystal's ideas. I know what she's talking about in that. Like if you have that, we can workshop the idea a little bit more fully rather than this information session that we had now. So if you want to and you need some more support before submitting the application, sign up for that one. It's the last one of these workshops that we'll have, and we'll be here to help you a little bit further with your ideas.
Yeah, we'll actually do some breakouts during that time so that we can take you individually for some time and talk through your idea more on a one-on-one. So that was good. Thanks, Bree. And I put my email address in there. So again, feel free to reach out via email. And if you have some questions, I'm going to be more, you can lean on me for more things about the site and the production aspects and, things of that nature. Feel free to put that in there and ask me. I'm happy to help.
Thanks, y'all.
And thank you everybody for being here. We really appreciate the response.
And I promise I'll try to wake up and feed the hamsters that fuel my Wi-Fi connection a little bit better next time.
If only you could hear it, Tim. That's all I wish. But you'll get to listen to it on the recording.